As Africa's leading defense news portal, DefenceWeb aims to give you the latest updates on African defense, the South African National Defense Force, and the defense industry. Hi folks, welcome to the past week in defense. In this week's edition on the continent, Egypt requests $200 million worth of RIM-116C missiles, and the US Navy seizes illicit weapons from 2 dhows off Somalia. In SANDF news, soldiers are still enforcing the COVID-19 lockdown and aiding police. The SANDF adds to its one-star general numbers. The Democratic Alliance believes military hospital management and operation should be a provincial competency. Damen Shipyards Cape Town and the SA Navy hold a blessing ceremony for the first new inshore patrol vessel, and the SA Air Force helicopters are once again major components of a rescue. In industry news, Denel is forced to look overseas for revenue while at risk of collapse as money runs out, and an oversight committee calls for further explanation of Denel's woes. There is a wait-and-see attitude on new SOE model, and Armscor highlights strategic facilities. In African defense news, Egypt requests $200 million RIM-116C missile sale. Egypt has requested the sale of up to 168 Raytheon RIM-116C Block 2 rolling airframe missiles from the United States in a deal that could be worth $197 million. They will be used on Egyptian Navy fast missile craft. The US State Department on the 16th of February announced that it had made a determination approving the possible foreign military sale, and the Defense Security Cooperation Agency delivered the required certification notifying Congress of the possible sale. US Navy seizes illicit weapons from 2 dhows off Somalia. The US Navy's guided missile destroyer USS Winston S. Churchill has seized illicit shipments of weapons and weapons components from 2 stateless dhows during a maritime security operation in international waters off the coast of Somalia. Churchill's visit, board, search and seizure team and embarked joint service advanced interdiction team discovered the illicit cargo during a flag verification boarding conducted in accordance with international law and in international waters, the US Navy said. The operation took place on 11th and the 12th of February. The catch of weapons consisted of thousands of AK-47 assault rifles, light machine guns, heavy sniper rifles, rocket-propelled grenade launchers, and crew-served weapons. Other weapon components included barrels, stocks, optical scopes, and weapon systems. The original source of the weapons has not been yet identified. The seizure of the illicit weapons by Churchill was conducted as part of the US Navy's regular maritime security operations in the region. In SANDF news, soldiers still enforcing lockdown and aiding police. The current employment of the military is for lockdown regulation enforcement, humanitarian aid, and crime combating, with specific mention of instability affecting the road freight industry. This is contained in a briefing to Parliament's Joint Standing Committee on Defence on the 18th of February. The briefing aimed to bring parliamentarians up to date on the state of Operation Lekolo, the name assigned by the SA National Defence Force to its deployment of 2,122 military personnel for the month of February. This was as per a pair of presidential minutes, with the first authoring a similar number deployed from 29th of December to the 31st of January. Presentation has that the operationally deployed strength was 1,210 of the authorized 2,000 plus. They are deployed in the humanitarian and law enforcement domains. Humanitarian relief deployments include port health support and scanning, screening, and testing teams. Military health service personnel are working 4 identified port of entry hotspots at Beitbridge, Zimbabwe, Lumbombo, Mozambique, Maseru Bridge, and Flixburg, both Lesotho. Soldiers are supporting police at identified hotspots in 5 provinces: Gauteng, the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and the Western Cape. The deployment has an air support component, with the SA Air Force tasked to supply a Cessna 208 Caravan, an Oryx, and an Augusta A109. This component of Lekolo has to date delivered food supplies to the flood-hit Northern Cape. Another component of the department is a pair of heavy-duty recovery teams. The vehicles were deployed at Beitbridge to clear road congestion, saving lives, according to the presentation, which states an estimated expenditure for February as 65,090,486 rand. SANDF adds to its one-star general numbers. The Department of Defense has announced senior promotions and appointments for the 2020/2021 financial year, with the 17th February bulletin listing no less than 105 additions to the Brigadier General/Rear Admiral JG rank across all services and divisions of the National Defense Force. 32 of the one-stars named already hold either Brigadier General or Rear Admiral JG rank. For them, the bulletin confirms new appointments. Examples include Brigadier General Xolani Mabanga, who becomes Director, Foreign Relations; Brigadier General Debbie Mafele, Director, Collective Mechanization; Brigadier General Gerard Kamfer, Director, Kobatlala; Brigadier General Hilton Smith, Director, Military Aviation Policy; and Brigadier General Glenn Gibson, Director, Air Combat Systems. The Landward Force, as the largest component of the SANDF, leads with 24 new one-star generals added to its senior ranks. 3 are women. The SA Air Force is a distant second, numbers-wise, adding 20 Brigadier Generals, including 2 women, and the SA Navy top ranks grow by 8 junior grade Rear Admirals, also with 2 women making the grade. SA Military Health Service senior ranks are boosted by 5 new 1-stars, including 2 women. Military hospital management and operation should be a provincial competency, DA says. The question of doing away with components of the non-combat service of the SA National Defence Force has been raised from time to time since democracy. Now, with budgets tighter than ever and expected to become even more so, it's time to face reality. This opinion comes from Democratic Alliance parliamentarian Cobus Maria, who has put forward the transfer of South Africa's 3 military hospitals to provincial health departments. Reducing the SA Military Health Service to a strategic and military-based auxiliary service will immediately save 3 billion rand in the Department of Defence budget, he maintains. Elaborating, he told DefenceWeb 63% of the SA Military Health Service budget goes to cost of employees, and its most expensive personnel are in the 3 military hospitals. It is common knowledge the military hospitals are underutilized due to resource constraints, and in the case of one military hospital in Tabashwane, the poor physical state of the hospital and its infrastructure, he said, pointing to the ongoing refurbishment project which has been in the process for more than 10 years. A few billion rand is going to be needed to finish the work at what was the primary military medical facility in southern, if not Africa. DSCT, SA Navy, hold blessing ceremony for first new inshore patrol vessel. Damen Shipyards Cape Town, DSCT, and the South African Navy have held a blessing ceremony for the first of 3 new multi-mission inshore patrol vessels to be delivered under Project Bureau. The ceremony was held at DSCT's facilities in Cape Town on the 12th of February. The shipbuilder said the plan had been to hold a large launching ceremony, but due to the situation surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, the SA Navy took the decision to do something on a smaller scale. During the event, the vessel was blessed and a bottle of champagne was broken over the bow, as is the custom. The South African flag was raised on the vessel and she was cheered by her crew. DCST laid the keel of the first vessel in February 2019 and the second in August 2020. Deliveries are expected between 2021 and 2023, with the first vessel being delivered to the Navy in mid-2021. They will be based at Naval Base Durban. SA Air Force helicopters to the rescue. Rotary wing aircraft from SA Air Force squadrons in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal were major components of rescue operations. Air Force Base Swartkoop Base 17 Squadron dispatched one of the RX medium transport helicopters to the Magaliesburg in the northwest on receipt of an emergency call from Netcare 911 to SA Air Force operations on the 13th of February. According to Netcare, an adult woman slipped while climbing, fracturing an ankle. At the fall scene, rescuers found the patient in severe pain and suffering hypothermia. The extreme nature of the terrain and safety conditions saw a decision taken to call on the SA Air Force, and the patient was safely hoisted into the aircraft and flown to a hospital for treatments and further care. Another call for the SA Air Force assistance came from the Durban station of the National Sea Rescue Institute 2 days earlier. An RX from 15th Squadron at AFB Durban was tasked to evacuate a 33-year-old Chinese sailor with a serious medical complaint from a bulk carrier off Port St. John's. He is understood to have suffered a heart attack. The helicopter, its 3-strong crew and rescue personnel rendezvoused with the motor vessel about 150 nautical miles south of Air Force Base Durban. The patient was subsequently safely delivered to a Durban hospital for further treatment and care. In industry news, Denel forced to look overseas for revenue. Denel and the South African defence industry as a whole have to look increasingly outwards for growth as the domestic market dries up, the state-owned defence conglomerate believes. In its published 2019/20 annual report, the company states that although its main purpose is to support the activities of the National Defence Force, the domestic market is shrinking and much of its 13 billion rand order book is from outside the country. The SA National Defence Force comprises around half of Denel's revenue, and the South African Department of Defence money assists with developing key products, which Denel leverages when pursuing foreign business. However, the current balance and security budget is 1.1% of the gross domestic product, which is low compared to international norms, sitting at around 2.5%. Denel, as well as the rest of the defence industry, increasingly has to put its efforts and focus on winning export contracts for its continued survival. Denel and the rest of the South African defence industry have always fielded a niche market where customers would not buy from European, USA, or Israeli suppliers. Denel, however, has too much reliance on the Middle East countries and should further expand and spread the risk by expanding to the Far East, South Asia, and Latin American markets. Stronger competition with Europe and USA companies should be expected in markets traditionally serviced by Denel due to contraction in defence spending in their home markets. It is further expected that customers will shift their focus from procuring systems with the highest possible performance to ones that are more affordable. In addition, lower oil prices are likely to affect the cash revenues of some countries and their spending patterns on defence going forward. Despite these factors, Denel is experiencing a strong demand for its products in the growth markets of Asia Pacific and the Middle East. These markets are currently the main export customers for Denel's products. There are a number of new business opportunities expected to be concluded and executed in the short to medium term, Denel stated, adding that South Africa is well positioned through its foreign relations in these regions. Business opportunities on the African continent remain largely untapped due to ill-defined user requirements, funding constraints, and other hindering dynamics, most of which are political. There are, however, gaps to fill and opportunities to pursue, specifically in the West African region. Denel is in good standing with the United Nations, which provides access to humanitarian and peacekeeping initiatives, with some contracts currently being executed. The Latin American region is still heavily invested in acquisitions of weapon systems, and despite defense cuts, still offers opportunities for Denel. The poor economic outlook for this region is, however, expected to further erode market opportunities, Denel said. Denel at risk of collapse as money runs out. Denel is technically insolvent amid worsening short-term liquidity and could run out of cash by March, bringing it to the brink of collapse. National Treasury's Chief Director of Sectoral Oversight, Ravesh Rajlal, in mid-February told Parliament's Standing Committee on Appropriations that Denel risked running out of cash at the end of March and would need an additional 500 million rand in funding. Denel has made a loss of 1.9 billion rand in the 2019/20 financial year due to a decline in revenue brought about by liquidity challenges. In a presentation to the Select Committee on Public Enterprises on the 17th of February, Interim Group CEO Talib Sadiq said Denel is structurally and operationally inefficient, requiring reforms including revenue generation, program management, cash management, and cost reduction. In the short term, Denel has a high probability of not meeting contractual performance obligations, is unable to raise adequate working capital, is unable to raise performance bonds on new contracts, and is unable to honor full salary obligations to all employees and payments to creditors. It is also facing demands from suppliers for upfront payments. Denel's problems are compounded by the declining local defense budget, weakened relationships with key customers and suppliers, the inability to retain or attract skilled personnel, ongoing salary disputes, and a Fitch ratings downgrade. Within the organization, there is a poor program execution and low productivity. Most divisions are in dire financial position or loss-making, and the balance sheet is weak. Major restructuring is needed for Denel to become a trusted and reliable supplier of products and systems and globally competitive, the company said in its presentation. Going forward, Denel is prioritizing creditors to allow daily operations to continue and is trying to better manage client funds to rebuild trust and reliability. Sadiq said that Denel is developing its next strategy, which talks about repositioning and expanding its offerings beyond defense. Oversight Committee calls for further Denel explanations. Beleaguered state-owned defense and technology group Denel, in the form of its acting chief executive, has to return to the drawing board to provide an explanation for at least some of its woes. The Select Committee on Public Enterprises said it told Denel it must return to brief the committee on the turnaround strategies, performance, and plans to restore its reputation and workers' morale. Committee Chair Sisareke Matiebe is quoted as saying Denel management must also experience the pain of salary interruptions and cuts. It can't just be general employees who feel the consequences of the decline in productivity at Denel in the form of salary cuts or no salaries. Management must also feel the crisis. Armscor highlights strategic facilities. Armscor has a number of strategic facilities, from test ranges to research and development institutions, and many of these are undergoing upgrades and improvements as the state-owned Defense Material Agency seeks to better leverage them. Key Armscor business units/facilities which generate revenue include the Al Capone Test Range in the Northern Cape, the Institute of Maritime Technology at Simonstown, Gerotech, West Pretoria, and Protechnic in Centurion. Armscor noted that Al Capone has seen improvements in its testing capabilities. Upgrades to Al Capone radars have resulted in an increase in tracking range to 100 kilometers and the ability to track projectiles to the ground. Exemption for the operation of the tracking radars has been granted by the Square Kilometer Array radio telescope. Funds have been secured internally for the resurfacing of the 1.5-kilometer airstrip. This will allow Al Capone to accommodate unmanned aerial vehicles of all shapes and sizes. In the Western Cape, the Institute of Maritime Technology is designing and developing an underwater signature multi-influence range measurement system for the test, evaluation, and calibration of the SA Navy sonar equipment. The Institute also developed the ultrasonic broken rail detector system to automatically detect breaks in railway lines and has been sold to India. The COVID-19 pandemic saw Armscor Division Hazmat increase sales dramatically of personal protective equipment. Regarding its vehicle testing facility at Gerotech, Armscor said these were established to meet South Africa's need to test defense-related products and to maintain key facilities, equipment, capabilities, and technologies for that purpose. However, Gerotech has attracted numerous international and other private sector clients in recent years, forming an important part of Armscor's ability to diversify its income streams. Protechnic Laboratories, which focuses on chemical and biological defense, played an important role in testing chemicals and other products for efficiency during the initial phases of the COVID-19 outbreak. Protechnic designed, tested, and evaluated a hand sanitizer and surface disinfectant with strict adherence to guidelines from the World Health Organization that was distributed to the Department of Defense and Armscor and sold to other state departments. The Armscor dockyard in Simonstown, which serves as the primary maintenance supplier to the SA Navy, has for a long time been a poor performer and a financial drain, resulting in a renewal strategy that will be implemented over 3 years, with the first phase focusing on eliminating the financial deficits. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, our daily and weekly newsletter, and our other social media platforms if you enjoyed the webcast. Leave your comments below. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.